Welcome to VRP Rocks. I'm Paul Stevenson, and you're tuned into another thrilling edition of My Five Favorite. Today, I'm sitting down with one of the most iconic voices in rock, a man whose career has spanned since the 60s, and he's worked with some of the greatest musicians of all time, from Ritchie Blackmore to Steve Vai to Michael Schenker and John Lord to Cozy Powell and Yngwie and so many more as well. If you're a regular to VRP Rocks, you'll know that I love these My Five Favorite interviews because we get to hear from the musicians themselves just what their own personal favorites are from their glittering careers. So I'm delighted to welcome back to VRP Rocks to take us on a trip through his legendary songbook, the one and only Graham Bonnet.
Hello and good morning.
Hello and good morning. It's evening here in the UK, so it's lovely to speak with you, whatever time it is.
Yeah, I'm here and you're there.
Exactly, that's the way it works. So we're going to run through your career with some lovely songs that you've picked out. You've picked out, as the title suggests, your five favourite songs from your career. And we're going to go right back to the beginning for this one, for the Marbles. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, perhaps it was yourself and Trevor Gordon. So tell us a little bit of back info on this one. Where did the Marbles come from? How did you form? How did you get together?
Yeah, well, my cousin and I were in a band, a garage band, basically. We both lived in Skegness, Lincolnshire, and we moved down to London, and we played a gig at in West 2, I think it's in West 2, London, and it was called the Revolution Club. I'm not quite sure if it's there still. But anyway, we played the gig, and after we'd played, some guy came up to Trevor and said, "Hey, Trevor, I think Barry, Robin, and Morris would like to talk to you." And he said, "Oh my God," it was the Bee Gees' old manager from Australia. And he just happened to be in the audience. And Trevor said, "Well, yeah, give me Barry's number." And so Trevor called up Barry Gibb, and he went over like next day to meet up with his old friends he hadn't seen for years. And so they said to him, "Trevor, we'd like to do what we did in the past." It was called Trevor Gordon and the Bee Gees. Trevor was the lead guitar player, sometimes the singer. It all sort of, interchangeable. Who was going to sing, who was blah, 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 etc. When they were about 13 or 14 years old. And they made records in Australia on the Leiden label, I remember, because I used to get them, he used to send me them by mail, my cousin.
Oh, wow.
And he'd say, "Listen to this is a guy, the guy's called the Bee Gees." He said, "They're very much like the Beatles, you'll love them." Da, da, da. And so, well, eventually, we all know what happened to the Bee Gees. They became like one of the biggest bands ever and songwriters ever. Barry is just incredible. What a songwriter. He can write a song for anybody, I think.
Yeah.
When you have like Barbra Streisand and then you go to Kenny Rogers, and it's just amazing. Anyway, he said to the Bee Gees, when they said to him, "We'd like to do what we did in the past," he said, "Well, my cousin is a singer too." And they said, "Well, do you want to bring him over?" So a couple of days later, I went over to Barry's house, and we sat down singing with acoustic guitars, going through like Beatles songs, the Beach Boys and Stevie Wonder, anything you like, right? So R&B, rock and roll, blah, 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 everything. And it was incredible to sit there with the three boys, the three brothers, having them harmonize, and my cousin, and we all were in harmony. It was like, I wish that had been recorded, to be honest with you. It was a hell of a night. And so we started singing, whatever it was. And in the house at the time, Robert Stigwood, the manager of the Bee Gees, was there at Barry's place. And he came into the room and said to Barry, "Do you have a song for these boys, Barry?" And we go, and Barry said, "Well, no, but I can write one." And so a couple of days later, we had a vague idea of what the tune was going to be. And it was a La La track. So we went into the studio in IBC, Portland Place. And Barry said, "Well, just la this melody." So da 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 da. It was da da da, but no words. So I'm singing this la la la. And when we got the words, like a day later or something, I was singing it, and Trevor said to Barry, "I think what should happen here is Graham should do a high note here. Instead of going da 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 da, he should go da 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 da, which is a C sharp. For those who know, see what a C sharp is." And the guys all went, "Oh wow, okay." So Trevor, I should say, was really part of the songwriting, but little did he know it, because it just became BR and M Gibb. songwriters.
Yeah.
And so that was that. That was the beginning of my high notes sessions. And from that day onwards, I had to sing. It had to be a high note in everything I did. Oh, you got to go to the C sharp. All right, well, go to a D instead, even higher. So that was the beginning of the Marbles. We recorded this song, and we were waiting around for it to be played on the radio. Was it Capital Radio? I think it was. We were listening to it at that time, and I can't remember who the DJ was. Emperor Roscoe was his name, and he said, "I have this song here. I want to play it to you. It's right at the end of the show." And he played a bit of Only One Woman, and then the show was over. Then next day or sometime during the week, Emperor Roscoe was on again. He said, "You got to hear this song." It was played all the way through. And then later in his show, he said, "I'm going to play that again." He played, I think, 3 times on his show.
Wow.
So, Roscoe, thank you very much. I got to know him later, much later. And so it got into the top 10 in England. And Joe Cocker won with Try a Little Help from My Friends. And my brother had a bet on with me. He said, "I think Joe Cocker's going to go to number 1. I think you're going to go, 3 or 4 or something." I said, "No, Tony." I said, "No, I think we're better than that. I think our song's better." But anyway, and that's my cousin, because we all thought that it was going to be number 1 without a doubt.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing really around like that, that kind of R&B 3/4 and 3/4 of all things. It's basically a country song that was made into an R&B song, But anyway, it went to number 3, I think. And that was the beginning of the Marbles. Then later on, Barry wrote some more for it.
Absolutely. And we've mentioned Alcatrazz, so we'll move on to track 2, and we'll go to Alcatrazz. This one from the debut album from the band, No Parole from Rock and Roll. This track that you've chose is Hiroshima Mon Amour. So why have you selected this one, Graham?
Well, that was something that the very first lyric I wrote for that band was Hiroshima Mon Amour. I remember seeing the film at school. I was in the film society at school, and we used to see some great movies. And Hiroshima Mon Amour was one of the movies we saw. And, black and white, whatever, and All Quiet on the Western Front. I'll never forget that one too. But I thought, it's going to be... It's got to be very emotional, but very serious at the same time. So I wrote the words out. I didn't have a song at all. And Yngwie Malmsteen came up with this riff. Da, 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 ba, ba. And he said it was taken from Cream. I always thought it was being, "You Really Got Me." Da, 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 da. Had the same kind of progression. So I mastered the words to the track. I tried to get something that was very emotional, but at the same time, not too corny. So I wrote the song, and as Bethany says, "How did you manage to put that bomb formula in there? C7H5O6N3, and that's part of the lyric, which makes it kind of very clever, very, very clever, and very, very honest." And I remember playing it in Japan. And I just said to the band, to the audience, "We love you. No more war, please. No more war." And everybody went crazy. They loved that song, obviously, because it's about the city. And it meant a lot to me, and it still does. That song to me was, it was very close to my heart, because I can't believe the cruelty that man has upon other men. Oh, it's okay, we'll just blow them up. They'll be gone. I'm just putting it very simply, because I know there's a lot of politics involved. But when I see murder, massacre in that that's just over the top. But we've had a lot of. I was saying that looking outside over LA now, when you see it on TV, it looks like a bomb drop.
Yeah,
flattened. Hiroshima, and all those innocent people that died from that bomb, because we'll win the war if we do this. I don't know.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. And it's actually fascinating to hear how the song comes together as well, with the fact that obviously you'd written the words, and then Yngwie comes up with something that you think might fit, and then you kind of meld it all together. And it's wonderful how that sort of thing comes together.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It was newborn and 10 feet tall, but they called it Little Boy. I thought, "Ooh, that's a good line."
Yeah.
you know, and C7H506N3, they called it TNT.
Yeah.
So it all rhymed nicely. That's what it sang properly. It sang well, and it still means a lot to me because I remember writing those words and my manager going, "Fucking hell, this is shocking." He couldn't wait for us to get the song together.
Yeah.
And we did a video of it as well. And my Japanese friends always ask for that because we play over there a lot, well, at least once a year. I don't know if we're going to go this year. I hope so, because I have friends I've known over there for, God, since the Rainbow days, and Alcatrazz days, a long time. And they're all grown up now and old and bringing their grandchildren to see us. Yeah.
Let's move on to your third track, and we're going to go back to those early days, back to the Marbles again, and another Bee Gees involvement as well. This one is The Walls Fell Down. So again, why does this one mean so much to you, Graham?
Oh, well, I mean, when we did that, it was people used to come along to, I don't know why, but we used to have a crowd in the freaking control room. There'd be Barry and Morris, the guitar player from the Bee Gees, Vince Maloney, and the drummer, Colin Peterson. And they would all be there every time we recorded, no matter what it was, And when we got the second song together, the Walls Fell Down, they were all there watching the recording. And after we finished doing our bits, harmonies and everything, Colin Peterson said to us, "This is better than Only One Woman." He said, this is so powerful. And I liked it a lot too. It's a really good song, very powerful. And well, it was the perfect follow-up. And after that song was done, that's just after that, that's when we split up because I think Trevor could see that we weren't both going the same way. My cousin, he wanted to do something different. He was a big fan of like Simon and Garfunkel, more folky music. He played great guitar, fantastic guitar player. He taught me how to play a few chords when we were kids, when I was about 11. And so he went his way and I went mine, as we were saying before. And it just was like a natural breakup. But I wish we'd have stayed together a bit longer and worked with Barry and the other guys for another song, But because Trevor, he left Stiggles before I did. And because that happened, they were like, "Well, what do we do with him? With Graham?" "Oh, I don't know." So I was kind of lost. And as I said, I was doing like commercials, anything, stuff for other bands. I did one for Badfinger, Grapefruit. God, there's a bunch of bands that are all sort of intertwined at that time, all Beatley sounding bands. And it became, I was very frightened. I just didn't know what to do. So I got myself another manager, and he didn't know what to do either. I made a song that was a complete flop. It was a Roy Wood song called Whisper in the Night, and it didn't do anything. It was a single. I went to the pressing to make sure it sounded good. I've never been to a pressing before of a record. And I said, no, can you give it a bit more of this, a bit more of that, etc. So I was there to see till the final product was ready to go out. And it did nothing. It did nothing at all. And I was really upset about that because Roy Wood was very pleased with it. I remember an interview with him saying something about it. And well, I was almost in a band with Roy Wood, which is another story.
Oh, interesting stuff. Right, let's move on to track 4 then, and we'll dive back into the Alcatrazz years, and we're going to go to the second album now, Disturbing the Peace. This was the track called Will You Be Home Tonight? So again, why is this one of your top 5, Graham?
Well, I wrote this about Jimmy Dean, about James Dean.
Okay.
And it was used by Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. It became a commercial on the radio in America, believe it or not. Yes. So in America, how dare you? It was something that I wrote about him. It was a young 23-year-old guy who died unnecessarily because of I don't know if he was drunk or the other driver was drunk. So so it became, okay, drive carefully. Will you be home? Drive carefully. Make sure you come home tonight. That was my idea. And I had an idea on the bass, which I played to Steve. Steve Vai was in the band at the time. And it was bobba 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 bobba. And I said da 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 da. It was like just an R&B sort of bluesy thing. And Steve said, "Why don't we go up to this change here?" Then it went into a chorus. I thought, "Oh yeah!" And in one day we'd written the melody, and I thought, "Yeah, this is really good," And that was really the first time I worked with Steve Vai, really closely in his house, in his studio, And we got on so well together. I love that album we did together. That's my favorite Alcatrazz album, by the way. Yeah. It really is, because we thought about what we were playing, what we're singing, making sure the notes are exactly right, and making sure that the lyrics weren't stupid, but my lyrics. But it was just something that a lot of the sessions we did, me and Steve we did them together, vocal sessions, because the other guys were working with Eddie Kramer doing the other stuff. And Steve said to me, "Why don't you come with me? Why don't we do something in another studio to keep the album, keep the momentum up, keep it going, and we can get ahead of them if necessary, the other guys." So that's what we did. He did vocal sessions with me, and on some of the tracks, we actually, what was that song? Oh, "Breaking the Heart of the City" was one song that we played. He played the same notes as I sang. So we had harmony on the guitar and harmony on the voices. A song called "Will You Be Home Tonight," which was about "Breaking the Heart of the City," which is about John Lennon, his death.
Yeah.
And but "Will You Be Home Tonight" is something that's, I wouldn't mind playing that again. I think we have done it a couple of times. Yeah, we've done it a couple of times. Everybody loves that song. Mm-hmm. And I like the way it breaks up from the sort of very boring bluesy thing into "No, will you be home tonight?" All that. And so, and the harmony behind it. I like the way Steve thought. You had a great, we say, "Oh, we don't go straight ahead here, make a left turn."
Yeah.
"Let's make a left turn. No, don't go down there. No, that's obvious. Let's go over here." And that's what from Frank Zappa years, he learned how to listen to doing things the wrong way. If that makes sense. "No, you can't do that. Here comes the chorus." And when the chorus is very obvious, it takes it away from the chorus a little bit. If there is a chorus, there doesn't necessarily have to be one. As well. It's another thing. But I remember Steve saying that when he was with Frank Zappa would go, "What's that note?" And Steve would go, "I don't know. What is it?" So listen, it's a D. Again. And he taught him how to listen to everything around you is a note. You can make music out of anything. So that's where Steve was coming from. That very advanced Looney Tunes that Frank Zappa had. Yeah. You don't have to have a chorus here, it's formula. But, as life went on, I found that the formula thing was very obvious and very much, visible in later songs I did, "Since You've Been Gone." So, it was very obvious. But what a great song. Thank you, Ross Ballard.
Exactly, Russ, yeah.
He's a great man and a great songwriter. He's like Barry Gibb. He's got that thing. Yeah. I can write a song for anybody. Yeah. But "Will You Be Home Tonight" it was very close to my heart because I love the James Dean movies and all that kind of stuff. I was a big fan.
Right, let's move on to your fifth and final choice then. And it's an interesting one as well. And we're going back to the Marbles days here again, I think. "A House Is Not a Home." So why have you chosen this one amongst your selections, Graham?
Well, it was something that I thought Jimmy Horowitz said to us, "Why don't we do like a Burt?" He was our arranger. He said, "Why don't we do a Burt Bacharach song?" And I went, "No about that." And Trevor was like, "Oh, maybe." But Graham, I want Graham to sing it, something like this. And it was "House Is Not a Home." And I said, "Oh, God, what a fantastic song. I love it." And it was totally nothing to do with the Marbles in a way, so sort of Tom Jonesy, if you will, and cabaret sing, oh, but I I read the words and I sang that song, and I could imagine, somebody saying, but it's a hound, but it's not a hound. It's not a hound without love and all. And it really sort of, yeah, well, that's how I just sing it. And I put as much emotion into it as I could. And I like the vocal on it. I think I showed another side of how I sing. It wasn't loud or silly. It was loud. It's always loud, but it was just emotional, and I was very proud of that track. I always we played it. I remember Morris Gibb getting hold of it and playing it to Lulu when he was still married to her, and she was just so impressed. I thought, oh, if Lulu's impressed, I'm happy with that, because she was a good friend too. But I just think I sing very well on that, and I can't. It's one of the tracks I'm most proud of vocally, I think, because other songs I've sung that sound okay, but that one particular vocal, it's, I don't know, just takes me back to being 19 years old and trying to do the best I could and impressing everyone. And I sort of did without knowing it.
That's a fantastic reason to choose the song as well. Were you a fan of the original? I think it was Dionne Warwick, wasn't it, that originally
Yeah, it
released the
was,
track?
yeah. Yeah, but the songwriting of Burt Bacharach is so good. The chord progressions are marvelous, and it's not like anything I do now. But it's music. It's all fucking music. It's all the same notes, all the same chords, but arranged in a different way. It's not quite a Rubik's cube, and it says, but it's something that I liked his writing very much. Like I like the way Steve took songs, and Burt Bacharach would do those changes that were incredible, beautiful chord changes, and that's probably why I like the song too.
Fascinating stuff. Well, Graham, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you and hearing your stories. Again, the selections are Only One Woman, Hiroshima, Mon Amour, The Walls Fell Down, Will You Be Home Tonight, and finishing off with A House Is Not a Home. Thank you so much for your stories and telling us your history and your career. It's always lovely to hear from you, Graham, and best of luck with everything moving forward.
You're very welcome, man. You're very welcome. Anytime.